I'm a big advocate for just do it. Just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, completely, ironed out from the get-go. And with social media, a post goes up and then it's not relevant 5 days later. So you can experiment with it. Don't be afraid to test it out. And, if you need a professional to help you out, you know who to call.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao. I want to take a couple of seconds to thank our sponsors, the Doc Sites and Cloud Dentistry. So please reach out to them if you have interest in learning more about what they do. They've been a big sponsor of my stuff for quite a long time, so I appreciate them doing that. It's great, and I'm able to get my word out using their sponsorships. Today's episode I'm really excited about is with someone I had met a couple of years ago. I think it was pre-COVID. Unfortunately, COVID kind of got me out of the dental space, pushed me to sell the practice, so we never got a chance to work together. But I'm really excited to learn more about what she does. Today's topic is 2022 social media growth hacks for dental practices. And my guest is Mary Robb from Social Practice. Mary, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited for today's conversation.
So to begin with, I know you have a heavy influence in the dental industry in terms of the number of clients that you have that are dental. But part of what I like to do is get the word out about companies that may not be as well known. If you can kind of tell people your background a little bit about, what you do, how you help them, a little bit about what Social Practice does, that would be great to get the podcast kicked off.
Absolutely. Well, we are Social Practice. We are a boutique social media agency based out of Dallas. We do serve clients nationally, and hiring us is the same thing as hiring a full-time social media manager. So our goal is to take the complete strategy and content creation and kind of community cultivation off your plate, and we help practices grow their social presence with the ultimate goal of driving more patients to their practice.
So to begin with, why don't we start with some of the topics that we kind of wanted to touch base on? And I think the main one is, let's talk about the social media algorithm as a whole. Obviously, it's changing. I mean, I literally was one of the very first dental offices to have a Facebook page when it came out. I was on that like white on rice. And then, now you have Instagram, you have YouTube, you have all these different other platforms that have now come out there that, and I still think Facebook is one of the main ones as well as Instagram that you need to be on. But let's talk about the space as a whole, the algorithm as a whole, especially in 2022.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first thing to look at, because you kind of mentioned there's so many different platforms, a very common question we get is, well, what channels do I need to be on? Because it can be overwhelming. There's so many options. So as a dental practice, you're really wanting to reach a local audience. So the platforms that make it super easy and efficient for you to reach people in your backyard is definitely Instagram and Facebook. TikTok is something to keep your eye on. I have seen practices that see success from it. The only thing that I've noticed about TikTok at this point is it's a little bit harder to optimize at a local level. So you could have a TikTok account that has hundreds of thousands of followers. I just had a conversation earlier today with a client about this, but not necessarily be reaching people in your local market. But that could change in the future. But if you're a dental office, 100%, you definitely need to be on Instagram and Facebook, and you can dabble in TikTok too. So in terms of this social media algorithm, I love talking about this because I think that sometimes it can seem overcomplicated. And I think there's a lot of information out there about social media in general. So, there's a lot of accounts and websites and blogs and videos about all these different ways you can optimize your social media account to drive an ROI. But what I found, and just being in social media for the past decade and also growing up on it, there's really three key things that are going to impact your success and that are really going to just determine if you're going to see an ROI and a return on this investment. Because social media ultimately is both an investment in time and it's a financial investment. So the three things I like to really hone in on is the quality of the content you're sharing, the consistency, and your engagement factors. So I like to start with the quality of your content. That really boils down to, what do your photos and videos look like? Are they professionally done? Is it in good lighting? Are you showing things happening within your practice? And the big question I'm always asking my team and when we're putting these strategies together is, how does the content we're creating as a practice adding value to my target patient? So something you can think through when you're planning out your social media content strategy is, what are patients coming here for? What really sets us apart? What does that patient experience look like? And how can we tell that story through the content we're sharing on social media? And just really just put yourself in your patient's shoes and think through, what are the concerns they're coming to us with? What are the issues they're wanting to solve? What kind of results are they wanting to achieve? And then you can back in and create really a solid content strategy. If you're having a hard time really, getting creative and thinking through those things, a couple of things you can do. You can send out some surveys to your entire email database and ask for help from your patients, and maybe do a giveaway around it. Take this 5-minute survey, share us your thoughts on what you think about our practice, what things that we've helped you solve, things like that. And then do a giveaway for $100 gift card and get a bunch of feedback there. That'll get you tons of ideas for content. Another thing you can do on your social media is post in your stories, hey, what do you come to us for? What can we help you solve? What things do you want us to cover this month or this week? And you can do a little sticker in your story and have people answer the story question. That's an option as well. You can do an actual post about it. It's always fun too to make it a team building exercise. You can get your team in the same room, maybe in one of your weekly or morning huddles, and say, let's talk through some social media ideas. Let's just brainstorm. Let's dump, some ideas for 10 minutes. So it's definitely something to consider when it comes to actually thinking through the topics. That's a huge part of the quality of things that you're putting out there. So that's number one, is this quality of content. And then of course you can look at, how you're filming, how you're creating photos. While we're on the topic of quality, a couple of things I always recommend is getting a ring light in the practice so you can kind of move it around. Filming on your phone in 4K and 60 frames per second, it's going to look like a cinematic mode. Now, the new iPhones have cinematic mode, and you can film in that as well, but it's a very high resolution video that always does really well. So when you have patients in the chair and they're willing to do a patient testimonial, you can film that. You can film procedures. You can film reels doing that. So having that high quality content is also going to be important. So quality is number one. Number two is consistency. So the way I like to explain this and kind of get some real data behind it is, if you look at how Instagram and Facebook makes money, they obviously they make the money through their ads, right? And so their goal is to increase the amount of time users are spending on the app. Because if the users are spending more time on the app, they can actually charge more for their ads. So if you're a content creator, which as a business profile, as a business page, you're considered a content creator, if you're putting content out there that's causing people in the social media feed to stop, like, comment, engage with your content, you're now causing that person to spend more time on the app. So with consistency, if you're consistently putting content out, giving the algorithm more things to chew on, they're going to start factoring that in, and they're going to start favoring your content over, let's say, the dentist down the street only posts once or twice a week, but you're showing up every day. So consistency is a huge piece of really making sure that you're doing all the right things to be in front of people. And also, some posts are a hit and some aren't. So just continuing to put new things out is really important. And then last but not least, the engagement piece. So this is where I see most businesses struggling, because it boils down to, it's really a time issue. So some of the bigger influencers and just in social media in general, I was at a Like to Know It conference a year or two ago, and we had a whole panel of influencers speak. And these people that do social media for a living are spending anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day just talking to people on social media. Like, that's it. They're just reaching out to other people. So from a business perspective, you got to think about, it's not just about putting content out there, but it's about, really investing time into the platform. And I like to always say, the point of social is to be social. The platform wants you on there. They want you engaged. They want you communicating with other people. And so that for a dental practice, some really easy, tangible tips that you can do is look at the restaurants close to your office. Look at the hair salons, look at the tanning salons, look at the grocery store, look at the mall, look at the places people could be checking in that are nearby. And you can actually look that up on Instagram, look at the most recent posts and engage on the ones that look like that person or that family could be a potential target patient. You can also look at certain hashtags. So like I'm in Dallas, you can look up hashtag Dallas, hashtag Dallas CX, hashtag Dallas moms, hashtag Dallas entrepreneurs. I mean, there's so many different city-based hashtags you can look at and engage with those posts as well. For business pages, just to get started with it, I recommend 30 minutes to an hour a day of doing that. I know it sounds like a lot up front, but that's where, having someone designated to handle these types of things is super helpful. But if you're just wanting to play with it, it's kind of like a video game. It's really fun. You go on, maybe while you're on the treadmill or while you're sitting on the couch drinking some wine, just look at some different, locations and hashtags and you'll see people will engage back with you. They'll start following you. And, engagement is the third thing. So, if you're doing those three things together and consistently, you will see success and growth in your organic social.
Well, I left you go. I didn't interrupt you. And I thought you were right on par with what the situation is, because one thing you'll know is that boring content is boring, and boring content isn't going to get the engagement that you need. But just posting isn't what's out there either. You have to engage. And you said you have to be social in order for people to want to follow you back and then interact with you in some way. I laugh because I know there's agencies out there that post stuff for dentists, and when you look and see, and they have one like and no comments, like that does nothing for a business, and you're wasting money posting something that nobody is going to see. So I think you definitely have to get engagement. You have to be social. You definitely have to engage with the audience, and you also have to grow your followers, because if you don't have followers, nobody's going to see what content you're creating, and that's a big deal. I'm a little bit, from a business owner, former dentist perspective, I dabbled in social media. I didn't pay to play with social for my dental practice that often. But the organic stuff really didn't result in anything for my practice. It was there to inform the patients about stuff we had. But once, I didn't hire an agency to do it, and I stopped doing social in my practice, not because I didn't think it worked, it was just because I wasn't getting results, and I really didn't have the team to be able to do it. So, I think that's a big thing that people who are listening need to understand when it comes to social media, is that it's more than just hiring a company to do it, and like one of the biggest tips I gave some dentists was, don't have a third party company do it who has no interaction in your office. You want to make sure that you have a woman in your office, pay them $100 a week and have them take photos of everything and post those photos, etc. That's going to be one of the best ways that you can help grow your social following, is doing it genuinely in the office, from the grassroots up, versus from hiring a company to do everything down. I don't know what your feeling is on that.
Yeah. And, it's actually part of my pitch deck. I really give all the options, because the reality is you can hire internally. And that's something where, and it can be successful. We have a process for our business that works really well, and it's everything's authentically created inside the practice. But, when it comes to trying to do it yourself, it's just about finding someone who, A, understands social media, B, has a really good eye for creating good content. So that's, do they take good photos? Do they consider what the photo's of? Are they good at filming video? Are they good at coming up with creative ideas? With social media, with reels being such a big deal now, having someone that can find, trending viral reels and then recreating those internally. That's a huge thing. And then on the flip side, are they strategic about their content plan? Are you just throwing stuff up to see what sticks, or are you sitting down, putting a content plan in place, looking at the things like what sets you apart? Who is my target patient? Who are my competitors, and how are we going to be different from them? It really can turn into a full-time job pretty quickly. So I think it just kind of depends on, where the practice is at and also what the practice's goals are. If you're really wanting to grow and you have a set revenue number you're trying to hit, that's where hiring out for marketing really makes sense. If you're more in a place where it's like, we just want to stay relevant, we're just kind of floating, where we like our annual revenue, we're not really trying to grow, then investing in a bunch of extra marketing, it might not totally make sense. I mean, I'm not going to recommend something if it doesn't align with your goals. But, if your goals are to grow and to increase the number of new patients you're getting, that's where, outsourcing it could be a good idea.
No, that makes sense. So let's switch gears a little bit. And I think you talked about this a little bit in what you previously said, but I want to touch base on it again. And it's the importance of cultivating a community and following to get the patient engagement. I know you touched briefly on that in what you said with one of the part of the algorithm for 2022, but I want you to review that again, because I think that's really, really important, because you also have to, you have to have the following in order to get that patient engagement. So can you touch base on that again for us?
Yeah. So I think one of the primary goals of social media is you want to reach more people in your community, right? And you want to get in front of more people so that ultimately you can get more new patients, and also stay relevant and also stay ahead of the competition. And so when it comes to really cultivating a community, growing your engagement, growing your following, it's going to be a lot about just being present on these apps and being available. So that's responding quickly whenever people reach out. That's responding back to every single message, every single comment. That's going into your current list of followers and re-engaging with those people. So the interesting thing I think a lot of people don't realize is just because someone's following you does not mean they're seeing your content. So a part of your engagement strategy should include clicking on those followers and going to their pages. You can like their last 3 posts, comment on their most recent one, just a neutral like, oh, hey, that looks like so much fun, or so happy for you. What a great trip. What a great restaurant, whatever. Nothing salesy, but staying in front of those people. And then, of course, on the flip side, what I was talking about earlier is looking at people in the community that don't currently, follow you. They might not know who you are. And you can do that through looking up certain hashtags, looking up certain locations. Another thing that I've seen people do that's successful is look at your competitors and see who's following and engaging with them. That's an interesting tactic. You can look at influencers that are local to your area, engage with those people because they have a bigger following, try to create connections and relationships with them, get them into the practice and have them share, more about your experience in your practice. That'll get you in front of a lot of people in your area. Make sure that their following is local. That's one thing to keep an eye out for influencers. Some of them have a national following, and that's not really going to help you out. But, and then, just spending that time finding new people in your area to engage with.
I'm 100% in agreement with what you said. Next topic I wanted to talk about, which I love video content, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on video content, whether it be office tour or video testimonials. Actually, I call them video trustimonials. But I wanted your thoughts on video content.
So video is the past, present, and future with marketing. It's definitely the best thing you can be doing. It's the number one thing I recommend. Social media, just the way that the algorithm works. If you scroll through your feed, you'll see it's mostly video at this point. And the reason why is because people engage more with video content than they do photos and graphics and things like that. And not to mention with the rise of TikTok, TikTok has blown up. They still are they don't have as many active users as Instagram does, but they've been growing substantially year over year, and they likely will reach Instagram's daily active user count very soon. So, the people on social media apps, they're just demanding more and more video content. So, if you're looking for ideas of, what kind of video can I be creating as a dental office, the opportunities are unlimited. So yeah, office tours, you can do FAQs, go on there, answer the most common questions you get, show before and afters of your cosmetic cases, get your team involved, have your team answer some fun questions, keep an eye on the viral sounds on Reels and TikTok. That's going to really help you For our clients specifically, that's where we really start to see some boost and reach and engagement is whenever we use a viral sound, a sound that's basically gone viral very recently. And when we creatively recreate that sound in that video, and then that helps us get in front of a ton of people. We just the other day did one where it was about the doctor, and she's pointing, and it's like my age, my horoscope sign. It was just one of those silly viral sounds, and she got over 300,000 views. I mean, but the nice thing about it was then it brought in more traffic to her page, her profile visits increased, her website clicks increased. So, and doing things like that though on a consistent basis, because just doing one clip like that's not going to really move the needle in the long run. But finding those opportunities and finding those sounds to recreate can really help you. But yeah, video is a huge, huge, huge part of the social media strategy and algorithm at this point.
No, again, I think you're dead on with what you're saying there. I've been a video fan for years, even going back to when, YouTube was first out and we would put testimonials on there. And I would always tell people, well, people aren't going to go look for testimonials on there, but if they engage you and they want to see what other people are saying about your practice, it's a great way for people to, hear what others are saying by getting these video testimonials. So I'm a huge fan of video, always have been and always will be. And I think if you aren't doing video, you need to change the way you think. I think one of the most difficult things for docs is some of them don't feel comfortable in front of a camera. And if they don't feel comfortable in front of a camera, I know there are methods now that they can actually, there's so many different, teleprompter apps now you can put on your phone, and you can actually use your phone to do the recording, and you don't have to worry about messing up your lines because you see the feed of words that you need to say. So, there are ways to now handle those people who are not as comfortable in video, as you think they should be, or you hope they would be. I know you mentioned team involvement, how important it is. I mentioned that, hey, one of the best things to do is to pay a team member on the side. Hey, here's $100. I need you to take photos and do all these things to help our social platform. What other team involvement do you think there has to be?
I really think as a practice, it is important to create content with the team in it. So in your photos and videos, getting the team members engaged and not just making it all about the dentist. Of course, the dentist is a huge part of it, and we want to include that content. But get the team to help you guys with filming different videos or coming up with different ideas. Get the team involved in engaging with the content. So on their personal pages, like ask them and encourage them. You can even have a contest to engage with the post that you guys are putting out as a practice, to help boost the visibility, because the more engagement a post gets, the more it's going to show up in other people's news feeds. So that's a very easy thing you can do, is just always require the team to, either daily or weekly hop onto Instagram and Facebook, engage with all of our most recent posts. And then kind of what I mentioned earlier too, just with the content planning, you don't have to take all the pressure on of being creative and coming up with the ideas. Get the team involved and make it a fun, activity.
Gotcha. Perfect. And then I know the last thing we wanted to talk about before we get into the other pod decks part of the podcast was patient experience. Obviously, that's big in where I'm doing and online reviews and making sure that they have this great experience in the office. But can you talk about that as it relates to social media?
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, dentistry is a very competitive space. There's dentists all over the world and on every corner, basically. And so something that's really important to consider, even though it's maybe not directly under the marketing umbrella, is the patient experience, because the reality is how that patient feels when they walk through your doors from the start to the finish. That's really going to impact how engaged they are with your practice, both with you guys directly and offline. And the best way to stay in touch with your patients in between visits is for them to be engaged with you through social and online and through emails and things like that, and texts. But whenever you have a really solid and really established patient experience, it's only going to elevate your social marketing efforts, because those patients will then feel almost, they're going to want to go out of their way to leave reviews, which is something you help practices with. They're going to go out of their way to create their own social media content and tag you guys in it. And also, you can market your practice all day long, but if when you bring people in, it's not a great experience or it's not quite meeting the expectation, then the marketing is going to be for nothing, because you can't retain these new patients coming in. So it's always something to really consider. And we actually partner with a couple of really, really great consultants who help with that side, because it is more of an internal operational thing, but it's something that's really important to consider, especially if you are in growth mode, you're investing in marketing, that it all kind of ties together. Does that answer your question?
No, it definitely answers the question. Do you think there's anything else that is important that you wanted to, you don't have to give your contact information yet. We'll cover that after the next section, but is there anything that you think is really important that you wanted to touch base on before we end the content part of the podcast?
No, I just think, social media is where you need to be as a local business, as a dental office. If you're not doing it now, it's okay to just start and just try. I'm a big advocate for just do it. Just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, completely, ironed out from the get-go. And with social media, a post goes up and then it's not relevant 5 days later. So you can experiment with it. Don't be afraid to test it out. And, if you need a professional to help you out, you know who to call.
and what I wanted real briefly do before we switch off to the next section is, can you just very briefly let offices know kind of what you do for them, because social media is a vast thingamajig now. I mean, there's so much stuff you could be doing. What specifically do you do for dental practices?
Yeah, it's a great question. So hiring us is just like hiring a full-time social media manager. We handle the entire process. We create your content strategy, your content calendars. We come out and we shoot photo and video content a couple times a year. We write all your posts. We share. We manage your entire audience. Anybody that reaches out, we respond to them, and we act as your customer service team. And we also do all of that external engagement, what we talked about a little bit earlier. So we spend 30 to 60 minutes a day reaching out to new people to help you build your following. So our ultimate goal is to help you guys grow your presence so you can get more new patients.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. I think that was important to let people know, because there's a lot of different types of social media companies out there. You're taking it to the next level because you're doing everything for them. You're basically become a part of their team in this sense, and replace some team members potentially. So it's a little different than some of the other agencies out there. And that's what I wanted to make sure people knew. Perfect. Okay. So I want to switch gears and do something I enjoy, which is called pod decks. It's a Q&A. I'm going to ask Mary about 7 to 8 questions on business. And Mary, the point of this is to get your answers out pretty quickly. You don't have to go into any large detail. It's more of lightning round stuff. So first question, do you believe there is some sort of pattern or formula to becoming a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, I do.
Do you want to share what you think? Yeah. You can go into that detail. Yeah.
Like, how short do you want these answers?
That was really short.
I think having a learning mindset. I think having very, very solid, well-established habits. I think having discipline. I think having courage. And I think always being open to learning new things through books, podcasts, and then on the other side, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So actively engaging in communities, spending time with people who are also running their own businesses, running their own practices, whatever, to kind of, it's the whole iron sharpens iron philosophy.
Perfect. What eats up most of your time that you'd like to change?
I'm heavily involved in operations still. We are a startup. I would love to do podcasts and do all the fun marketing and sales things.
Okay. What tricks have you discovered to keep you focused and productive in your day-to-day busy schedule?
Working out, first thing, keeps energy flowing. And there's actually a new drink that I drink now that's called Live Free. And it's amazing and it helps me focus.
Perfect. How do you know when you have the right idea?
Oh, gosh. Whenever I can't stop thinking about it.
That's a good answer. Do you keep a journal and does it help?
I do. And yes, it does.
Okay. What have you read online that has recently inspired you?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
That counts.
Does that count?
Yeah, sure.
I follow a guy named Ed Milet, and he talked recently about time management and how he gets twice as many things done in a day. And I'm going to start following his model.
That's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. So what is your greatest fear and how do you manage it?
Failure. Um, Wine at night.
That's good. This is an interesting question. Have you ever turned down a client and why?
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a relationship, and we want it to be beneficial for both parties, and we want to synchronize well with you. And so, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. And that's okay. There's plenty of business to go around for everybody.
Okay. What has been your most satisfying moment in business?
Well, whenever clients reach out and just share, how excited they are and happy they are with what we're doing, and whenever they see the results of our efforts.
That's great. All right. If
Yeah.
you had to start over again, what would you do differently?
I'd invent a software. I'm working on it.
All right.
But I'd start there.
All right. And last question. What is one book that you highly recommend everybody reads?
Traction.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So Mary, how can people find more about social practice or Mary herself? How can they contact you? How do they find out more about what you can help them with?
Okay, we're on all social media channels, Social Practice US. So find us there. Our website, social-practicetx.com. If you want to, we have a couple of different options. If you want a free analysis of your current social media and you want some tips on what you can be doing differently and how to improve, we have a free social media analysis you can sign up for. It's on our website and on our socials, and the links in our bio. Or you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation if you're interested in, potentially hiring out for social as well.
Perfect. Anything else that you wanted to say before I close the podcast?
I think I kind of did that earlier. So I think I'm good, but this was a great conversation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you for agreeing to be on with me. And I'm glad we did so quickly. This was a fast turnaround time. So I'm glad I had the time. So guys, if you like this episode, please share it. Please let your colleagues know. Please review us, which is really important. Please subscribe to the episode. If you want to learn more about what Mary and her team over at Social Practice can do, please reach out to Mary. She gave you her contact information and the ways to reach out to her as well. She's also on social herself a lot, so you can probably find her on there as well. But I want to thank the sponsors as well, the Doc Sites and Cloud Dentistry. I couldn't do without your support. And as always, remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, thanks, Mary, again for joining me, and we'll talk to everyone soon.